Louis R. Avalone in for the vacationing Aaron McCarty. Mike and McCarty on the Jack Spring Electric Newsmaker Hotline. Senator John Kennedy. Senator, always an honor to speak with you. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen. Happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July. Absolutely. The left is losing their mind, Senator. Trump is going to turn loose SEAL Team 6, start assassinating anybody he doesn't like because he has complete immunity.
Well, that's not what the opinion said. Actually, I thought it was a fairly predictable opinion because it's the law. I mean, the Justice Department overreached and asked for the opinion, and they got it. And basically, the court said, look, I think we already knew. The President of the United States, any president, has immunity from criminal prosecution for official acts.
And this is not new.
But he doesn't or she doesn't for unofficial acts or personal conduct. And that is a very fact-specific, fact-driven question. I don't know why the Justice Department wanted to litigate this case or try to litigate it before the Supreme Court before they'd proven anything at trial. And the court predictably sent it back. And I don't, some of my colleagues on the Judiciary Committee have made these extraordinarily outlandish statements about what it means, and I just think they're wrong. And I think a fair reading of the opinion shows it's really fairly anodyne.
Yeah, absolutely. Senator Kennedy, it's just Mike and myself and a few thousand listeners, so it's just us talking here. Is Joe Biden going to be the nominee for the Democrat Party for President of the United States this year?
Well, I don't have any inside information, but so I can just give you one person's opinion. I think he will be. I think it's awfully late in the process. The president, if you just watch the president through the years and watch the debate the other night, a fair-minded person would probably conclude that he has some form of neurodegenerative disease. That's why he doesn't do press conferences and why when he has a function, he has to have a teleprompter. The press has known about this forever. It's not a secret in Washington, D.C., and the American people can see it. And we saw it vividly the other night in the debate. But it's so late in the process, and if President Biden did step down, there would be a huge fight in the Democratic Party to pick his replacement. They're not just going to get together and have show hands. And I think President Biden's going to be on the ballot this November. I could be wrong, but that's what I think.
Senator, the thing that surprises me, and I said this earlier, is the surprise. Where was the surprise from people that that say, well, we didn't realize he was in this condition? Where have they been for the past 3 years? We've seen this behavior.
Well, they've ignored it. Look, this is what's going on. The President Biden is very polling very badly. He's losing this election. He likely has some form of neurodegenerative disease. His family has serious legal problems. His staff, which is running the country, is more concerned about gas stoves and whether a man can breastfeed than addressing issues like inflation and the border and crime and national security. And that's all reflected in the American people can see it. As I've said before, the American people may be poorer under the Biden administration, but they're not stupid. And that was, in my opinion, the whole purpose behind the Justice Department filing the criminal prosecution over January 6th and other alleged behavior against President Trump. It was all political. It was political from the get-go.
Well, the raid on Mar-a-Lago was political.
Well, I think the American people can see all this, and the Supreme Court basically yesterday said, look, we're not going to get involved in the presidential election. That's above our pay grade. That's a violation of separation of powers. Let the people decide, and the people will decide in November, and that's the way it's supposed to be. And all this hyperbole and histrionics by some of my Democratic colleagues is just that.
But you would agree that Biden running is better for those who want Trump to be reelected? Or do you feel like that removing Biden, putting someone else in place would create even more chaos and make it even more likely that President Trump is reelected?
Well, I'm not trying to dodge your question. I honestly don't know. Look, the country's split. And regardless of who the Democratic nominee is, this will be a close election because the American people are split. I think if the election were held today, particularly looking at the battleground states, I think President Trump would win. But it's not held today, and it'll be a close race.
Senator, on Friday after the debate, I had a friend of mine tell me that has said historically, look, I can't vote for Trump. I just can't vote for Trump. And it's strictly a personality issue. But they came in after the debate on Friday and said, I can't vote for Biden. I cannot in good conscience now vote for Biden. Do you think the left sees that and are going to change plans?
I think they do see it. I think they're in a quandary about what to do. The president has mismanaged everything: Congress, COVID, the economy, inflation, national debt, Afghanistan, the war in the Middle East, the war in Ukraine. They've sacrificed America's energy independence. It's just an abysmal record, and I think the American people will see that. That's why I think ultimately President Trump will win, but it's going to be a close race because the country is fairly evenly divided.
Now, of all those failures, those policy failures, do you believe that is due primarily to his, as you put it, his, I believe, neurodegenerative condition, or just a failed philosophy that results in these types of failures every time they're practiced?
I think it's his policies. I don't think that the president's personal behavior, the genesis of which we have to just speculate about, has helped. But I think it's his policies. I mean it. Let me say it again. We never see President Biden. We deal with his staff. His staff's clearly in charge. And when you meet with these folks, they're obsessed with getting rid of gas stoves and debating whether a man can breastfeed. And the American people are being gutted like a fish with inflation. The border is an open, bleeding wound. Crime is even worse in many places. Our enemies, Putin, Xi in China, the Ayatollah in Iran, smell weakness. They're being very aggressive in terms, they won't kill us. They won't kill Americans and drink our blood out of a boot. And they sense that the President of the United States is weak, and they're on the move.
Senator, what was your take on President Biden's speech last night on the Supreme Court's ruling, him coming out and vilifying the Supreme Court?
I thought it was terrible. There have been many decisions that I haven't agreed with over the years by the United States Supreme Court. And I may say I disagree with this opinion, and here's why. But I'm not going to denigrate the members of the court because I respect the institution. And I don't know a president. Well, let me put it a different way. Once the President of the United States starts denigrating not just the members of the court, but the court as an institution, that undermines our country. And I think it's very short-sighted and, frankly, juvenile and immature.
Do you think the possibility of packing the court is something that we need to be concerned with?
Of course. Let me tell you, if we lose the United States Senate, for example, if Senator Schumer and my Democratic colleagues in a majority, and they can, if they have the presidency in the House, I can tell you what they're going to do. The first thing they're going to do is get rid of the filibuster, which means they don't need 60 votes to pass something in the Senate. The second thing they're going to do is admit D.C. to the Union. That gives them 2 Democratic votes. The third thing they're going to do is admit Puerto Rico to the Union. That gives them 2 more Democratic votes. And then they're going to federalize everything. They're going to federalize elections. They're going to federalize the economy. They're going to federalize health care. They're going to regulate every breath you take because they think that they're smarter and more virtuous than the American people, and that the American people should just sit down and shut up and do what they're told. And the distressing part to me is I don't hate anybody. I do not. When I say my prayers, I ask God, don't let me hate, because it's hard in Washington, D.C. But the lone wing of the Democratic Party is firmly in control. They are. And these folks are just going to undermine our institutions. Not all Democrats are members of the lone wing of the Democratic Party, but they have gone along with the lone wing of the Democratic Party. And that's what we're facing.
Senator, thank you. I appreciate your time this morning. Look, I know, like you say, it's hard not to hate, but elections matter. And I'm grateful we have men like you that are still there and fighting the good fight. And happy 4th of July to you and your family.
Happy 4th of July. Everybody go vote. If dead people can do it, so can you.
Thank you, Senator.
Absolutely.
101.7 FM, 710 KEEL, Mike and McCarty.